But what's the bag that everybody says if you have a Corvette is that, well, it's an American car, it's a Corvette at the end of the day.
But as soon as the Z came and as soon as the ZR1 came out, you never hear anybody talking smack about them anymore.
It was hilarious in person because
It's so bizarre.
I didn't feel anything. I was expecting like some sort of a kick to know when to slow down. I just kept going. It's just sparking all the way down
It
to
was
that
insane
hill.
to watch.
It was hilarious.
Seems like the car culture in general, everybody is trying to film this clip of something going terribly wrong.
They're not recording you because you're the star. The people that think that that's hype are any of those people getting that person's back, that driver's back. Anybody fixing the car that blew up. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Today, we got a few things on the menu. I'm here with my man, Justin.
What's going on?
What's your last name, Justin?
Van Overen.
Don't know how to
A
spell
lot
it.
of E's.
It took me years to learn how to spell it. Vanoe.
V.
Veren.
Exactly.
Got him. Anyway, and of course, I think I'm Andy, but my real name's Andreas. So Andy, it's short because in school, when I went to school with the last name Saradakis, it got cut off. So the teacher always called me Andrea because the S got cut off. So that was pretty embarrassing growing up. I still have a phobia of my full name. So I would like to just go by Andy today, but you're welcome to call me anything that you want.
I appreciate that.
No problem. I think today we'll talk about, obviously, some of our SEMA progress, where we are with that, some of our current events, things that have been happening here at Label and outside of Label, and also kind of bring you guys up to speed from the last podcast, kind of what our plans are for in the future.
All right.
So first, Justin, why don't you tell us where you are with our SEMA project? Because I think most of the stuff is now in your hands as far as the body parts, right? We got everything back from paint and body.
Yep. Yeah. So we're a bit ahead of schedule where we were last year. We did get everything besides the brakes are back in our hands from paint. So Josh helped us out and tried to get everything sprayed ahead of time because there is a cure time that we try to allow before I put film on the car. Right. Typically, we always break that just because of the timeline with SEMA, but we're going to be pretty close this year. So hopefully most of that paint's cured. I'm already laying film, so I've got both the front fenders done, the fender closeouts, and then some of the small parts. So I like to get the small parts out of the way first, so when crunch time comes, I don't have to focus on all those because they just take time to make them look good. So we have everything disassembled, basically lined up behind me just so I can keep on rolling, it's a good feeling because, sometimes that is not the case when we're going into this season. So
yeah, usually your stuff sometimes gets pushed to the back because we need the most time possible with all the panels being fit to the car. So it's kind of just the nature of the beast that final finish in the wrapping doesn't happen until the very end.
Right.
And so that also it eliminates any mistakes or issues that we have as far as, if we nick it or run our hand across it or, once we get the wrap on it, we have to be extra careful and there's no more really playing around with the parts.
Yep. The one challenge will be the car is still on the lift, so that doesn't allow me to get the door jambs done until the car comes off. So there are a couple panels that we're going to be just postponed on until we get that car down.
So that's to you, David, at MV, and Justin.
Get some wheels.
You guys are paying attention. We need those wheels in our hands so we can get that car down. Obviously, we could put some other wheels on it and get it down in an emergency if we have to. But I did talk to the guys at MV, and they said that we shouldn't have any issue with our timeline this year. We got our order in, and I really haven't shared with anybody some of the wheel game things that we're bringing this year, but it's going to be something special that I think it will be a highlight on its own outside of the wide body itself. And also, I don't know if I even told you, Justin, but this will be a new release into the Label LM line with MV coming up for 2026. So you guys are going to be able to see something that they haven't done yet, revealed on our car. And I got a little other twist that it's going to tie into our build that I think it'll be something special. It seems like every year with the wheels, we kind of do something unique and special and have a new opportunity pop up that allows us to get creative. And it always seems to come down to the very end, but wheels make the biggest difference too. So I think, with the wheels, the color, and then obviously the body, those are three main components that basically make or break your car. So you don't want to leave one off and to be honest, I mean, I'm not saying our wheel styles are the best in the world. I love our wheel styles. I think all of them look great in their own application. But it's really hard to make one of those wheel styles look bad on one of these cars just because of the way that they're just so wide and how concave. And nobody's really seen, other than, you know, the new set that we did on the wide body this summer, any of those styles in this offset in a finish without a carbon barrel.
It's way more aggressive. That is for sure. It looks rowdy. It's sick back there.
And you might have a little work to do on those too when they get here. Kind of just depends. So we're prepping all of that stuff. But on my side, really nothing fun to talk about. Right now we're inundated with a lot of the design stuff for show boards in our display, you know, so that's really boring work to just sit on a computer and look at layouts, make sure all of our texts, our fonts are new and refreshed. We have some imagery coming together behind, you know, getting all the branding together. And then on the car physically itself, it's more of all of the underpinning stuff. We're doing heat shielding now on the rear diffuser, getting the carbon protected. We don't really have an issue with heat, but it's more just a precautionary measure to ensure nothing happens back there. Beyond that, also some of the shaving down of the inner panels to get fitment right. What was I working on last week? That
the front bumper extensions.
Front bumper extensions. Yep. I was in this weekend clearancing those epoxy studs you got. I think you just got adhered in there this afternoon.
So give us a kind of a general update on where. So we're 21 days out, I think, of 20 days out from the car getting picked up.
Yep.
What's the state of the car right now?
State of the car is completely disassembled. There's nothing there.
I think we're kind of glossing over the fact that there's basically nothing on the car.
Yeah, I think like some of the veiled images that we shared with the top up, underneath that is absolutely nothing. So you're looking at, I think, the convertible top, the doors, and I think that's it, right?
Yeah, there's a motor in there.
There's a motor in there, right? Yeah, there's zero interior. You could go in there and sit on some metal. There's no console, nothing in there. So that's completely stripped. So basically we're down to bare and just prepping for final assembly. So the way that we've done it, and you guys that have followed us, you know that we take cars apart several times. Traditionally, we'll take them all apart initially, get everything built, dry fit, take everything back off, bring it back, do all the sub-assembly work, fit it again, take it back off for the final paint, and then wrap, and then one final assembly. So a lot of times it's 3 or 4 times we'll have a car together fit until the very last time. What's nice about that is, like in this particular case, we have our confidence, even though we always look at the day, and it wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, how many days are left and what state is that car in? It still gives me like,
we call it agita.
Call it agita. Yeah. In some panic where I'm like, we got to make some progress today. And I'll come in one day and be completely wired for like, we got to get through boom, 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 boom. And then I'll feel better, going into the next day. But
yeah, there's so many waves to it. It goes up and down. And then sometimes there's so many things to do, but you're at a standstill because things are getting painted, the interior, those are weird days.
I would say we're probably due for you to set the whiteboard up though, because every year we always have the whiteboard.
It's normally 30 days. So we got to get that up.
We'll get the whiteboard up and get things checked off. And right about now is a good time, since everything that we will be getting done now, we can eliminate a lot of that preliminary stuff, which was, fit and all that other stuff, and just get up for the final assembly, install, and make sure that we have all the parts that we need. Yep. A lot of times too, making hardware runs. If we want to use metric hardware, sometimes I'm limited to how quickly I can get metric hardware, especially in a finish that we want. A lot of the stuff I bought ahead of time, like our wing bolts and things like that, but there's some of that inner fastening stuff that we want to get that is always matching. And we haven't been, if there's one of those things that, that's always the thing that seems to get left off our major checklist of stockpiling parts, is like the very small miscellaneous nuts and bolts. It's like having a hardware pack for each car would be ideal. And if we did more quantity, I think that would be something that we did. That's something that I learned in the hot rod world is you have essentially bins for the chassis, and everything in there from suspension bolts to chassis bolts to tranny bolts to engine, all that stuff that you can just go to and pick. So that would be something in an ideal world, if we continue to do more, that we would assemble ahead of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of processes you can put in place for
there is
production, like what were we just talking about with the Porsche's Singer.
Yeah, Singer.
With their new facility and
when you see all of the
everything
stations
lined
they
up.
have, that's obviously that's a full, chassis to a turnkey build where they have every single step, and that's exactly what you have to do. Otherwise, you just can't keep track. Yeah. Especially at a level of what they did, which I just saw Gunther Works one come up for sale. It was like 1.4 million.
993.
Yeah, 2,800 miles on it. I mean, it was nuts, but the money on those is just, it's crazy.
It is.
I mean, it gives you hope that maybe you can recreate that on another platform at some time
for a more reasonable cost.
Yeah,
they are pieces of art. When you see them in person, they're incredibly impressive.
Yep. And they don't cut corners. They do everything the right way. They do, and they've got manufacturing in house. They've got tooling. All of their stuff. When they make a carbon part, it's autoclave. They're not cutting any corners. So that money is right on those things. But
so 20 days left. How are you feeling in terms of the overall build, everything coming together this year in comparison to the previous years?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel pretty confident about everything coming together this year. We're using Plycar to get the car out there, so that was a big thing that I got off my checklist ahead of time. Comfortable that they are going to show up and pick up the car and deliver it and then bring it back on the timeline.
They will pick up the car.
That's correct. So I feel good about that. No issue with the trailer. That was something that was really bugging me about this year, worrying that we were going to have that, and that was a big thorn in my side last year. But as far as the car, I feel really good about the car. It's one of those things like today we just, picked out the final accent color with that spray out, and that's something that I was waiting to kind of check off the list and feel good about. But I think we've got a great blend there of what we were trying to go for. And we should have those brakes back soon. So I'll be excited to see those, especially with you getting more panels done, and knowing that Miltech's shipping those cats out today, which I'm really excited to see that. We'll do an unboxing video to show you guys what that looks like before we put it on the car, and then obviously an installation video of that. But this will be the first, I would say, bespoke item that Miltech actually has produced. And they shipped all of the things that we need, along with some eye candy, I'm hopeful. But
awesome.
I don't know for
sure.
But I want to see what that looks like, get it fit on the car, hear what it sounds like. It should be a special piece. So excited to roll that out with them. But other than that, I feel really confident about what we've put together. It's going to be one of those things similar to every other year, since it is different. We've got some out of the box things on there. We have some new things that we haven't done. Seeing it sit on the floor done is when I'll feel, even better about it. The rest of the stuff behind the scenes, now that I don't have to worry about it, relieves some of that pressure as we're leading up to that. Yep. So right now, I think it's more just, again, being eager and anxious to see finished parts come together, get that interior stuff over here, starting to see all the elements come together. But what about you? How do you feel about where you are on your side, with the wrap, and knowing what we have in the pipeline, knowing that we will, have to work through those jams. For those that don't know, jams take forever, right?
Yeah.
To do the right way and making sure they're adhered properly, because those jams are aggressive.
Yes. The Corvette ones are the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, all in all, I feel good. It's always fun this time of year, in like Google Photos. It gives you the, what was going on 1 year ago, 2 years ago. And I always look back at those, and we always kind of make jokes every year. We're like, hey, look where we were so-and-so. But this year I feel, pretty good, especially in comparison to last year.
Yep.
I think the car was still at the carbon shop last year. So we're definitely ahead of schedule. On my end, I'm feeling pretty confident. The KPMF's laying down really nice. I'm not fighting the material, which is good. I can wrap pretty quickly, and I'm pretty confident in the film holding too, which is, reassuring.
Definitely.
Haven't had that in the past on everything. So I feel good about that. The jams are going to be the biggest, time consumer coming up here. So hopefully, we can at least mount some wheels and just throw it off the lift for a day or two, get the jams taken care of. That way I don't have to think about them again.
Yep.
And then all the big panels typically will come together pretty quickly. The rear bumper obviously is the other panel that always fights me no matter what way I do it.
That's where I get to be assistant, right?
I got my assistant Johnny over here, Mr.
Perfect.
Heat Gun. Yep.
Keep
Burn.
those. Yeah, I got a
We
scar.
got our
That's
matching
your fresh one
tattoos
for this
yep.
year.
So, but yeah, I'll call you in when I need the big guns and then
Right.
get those wrapped up. But all in all, it's going to be, we're cruising. So
good.
I'm not worried about it.
I also think we're going to show some of that process that'll come out in the videos. I know Nolan's been filming that whole process, but he's going to put a very creative filter on that to hide that color. So you'll have to guess what color it is in each episode because I don't think it's going to come through in the right tone, right? Right. All right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. There was a slight delay. We could be giving everything away before, but I guess we won't.
Some of you may know what it is if you saw.
That's right.
Yeah, there's been a couple teasers. Or a couple little Easter eggs.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it was intentional. Maybe a flash.
Okay. Yep.
But I don't want anybody going back and looking at this. So why'd you say that?
Oh, my
You
bad.
just blew a cover now.
Cut.
Normally we keep that in the back pocket and we're
Right.
like, well, if anybody saw it, they saw it. But no, it'll be a unique color. And I think when everybody sees it, they'll understand where we were coming from when it's all said and done, and it'll kind of tell its own story. But I was more concerned with how you felt about it, knowing that we've had issues with that rear bumper and those jams being nasty, like being done, feeling good about it, coming back the next day when we only have that day and it's lifted
feeling.
up.
It's not a good feeling.
What about that car we sent, 3 years ago, and the temperature changed that year? It got cold or something, and we showed up there, and it was cold in Vegas.
It was unbelievable. That's the most scared and disappointed I've ever been with one of my jobs is, not knowing there's so many variables. It was a different technology in the adhesive than I've used in the past with this company. And they drove through the mountains. It got, all the temperature variations throughout that trip. Gets in Vegas, and it was kind of warm. I feel like that first couple days, and then
first day.
It got cold at night, freezing cold. It was like 40s, and the film was just hard as a rock, and it was lifting everywhere. And I was like, "What the heck am I gonna do?" So good thing is I packed. I always pack my little wrap kit for emergency situations, heat gun, all my tools, some extra film, and then just go to town. I spent basically a day trying to get everything cleaned up for the show. And then, once I got back from the show, I ended up having to replace some panels because some of it was too far compromised. But that's the worst feeling ever is like you go on the biggest stage and then, you get there and your work is like just there's bubbles everywhere. It's lifting. You're like, what is going on?
And by the way, nobody saw anything, and we had no issues at that event, which is funny. But they had a different post heat process, I think, on that, where it required like a super hot post heat where you weren't going that high intentionally but that wasn't communicated or something because it was an all new film.
Their old film was pressure sensitive, so you had to really jam the squeegee on there. But this was, and every film's different too. So it's just kind of the nature of it, and it's a learning experience, that's for sure. It could have gone worse, and it wasn't good, but we made it through, and it is what it is.
No, car looked sweet. So I think that's where we are with the SEMA project. I don't think that there's anything else really pressing to talk about that. We'll talk about that in the next episode on where we are. Kind of leads us into other things that are going on. We were involved in a pretty interesting shoot last week. So if you guys have followed us and you saw us go out and do a video with Frankie LaPena. Frankie is a local guy here in Grand Rapids. A huge guy on TikTok. You guys have probably seen him. He's got the big inflated butt and the GAT coin. And he runs around town. He's done things, with everybody. I've seen him with Hogan. I've seen him with John Cena. Seen him on, UFC, NFL. He ran the Combine last year, which was super cool. But he's been everywhere, right?
Yeah. It's funny. You just see a video pop up and it's like, well, Frankie's with so-and-so.
I know,
what?
right? And Frankie,
cool.
So Frankie actually started coming to Cars and Coffee before I knew anybody over here. The first year we did them, I think Frankie was like 16 or 17 at the time in high school. And he is actually a really great videographer and really great in media. And he showed up with a buddy of his with a drone and a camera. And he just asked if he could film some content. And I asked him if he'd send it to me after the event, and we would share it. And he did. And it actually looked back then, it was sick, I'm like, holy cow, this kid is good. And I didn't know him from anything. And quite honestly, I think he was going into film and video. That was something that he had a passion in. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, he starts blowing up on the internet with those videos. And now he is where he is with hundreds. I think did he hit 1 billion? I know he did hit 1 billion like a year ago, but of like overall views.
It's insane.
But we did a video with him. Justin has done some driving for him in the past. So the RS7 video where you guys drifted and pulled the snowboard, right?
Yeah, up in the winter.
And then you did an M3 one on his wide body M3 where you were drifting, right?
Yeah.
Justin gets called in as the stunt driver. And then this one, he wanted to know if we would be interested in yanking the chair and a dowel because it's like a trend that's going around. And we thought it was cool, especially to do with the twin turbo wide body because the sound would be sick. It's got the triple exhaust there and everything. And we said, what the heck? So we jumped off site, spent about, I'd say an hour in total, getting everything set up with his guys, Clayton and James. And we did the shoot, one take, shot some sparks. And here we are, how many days later? 5?
Yeah, when was that, Thursday? Friday?
Yeah, 115 million views on Instagram alone. 115 million now. I can't get
half of the country.
Yeah, I was going to say we can barely get 115 views on the podcast in one night, let alone 115 million. So, I mean, just staggering. And some people were they didn't like it or they thought it was goofy, And for us, we know Frankie, so I don't really see Frankie's not. Those who know Frankie, he's a car guy first of all, and his persona online isn't based around cars. Second, he's actually super smart and down to earth, quiet, says hi to everybody, signs autographs, like super nice guy. But, just like anything else, he is a character and he has a following based off of that character. And nowadays everybody's so judgmental online. I think that's just nature of the beast when you're viewed by so many people. And in our case, we just saw it as something fun to do and participate in. And, the car's taking off. It sounds awesome in it, and it yanks the dial out of there. And it was hilarious in person because it's
so bizarre.
I didn't feel anything when it like gripped the chair and it gripped the dial. I was expecting like some sort of a kick to know when to slow down. I just kept going because I was worried that I would ruin it if I didn't keep going. And then when we watched that one shot from behind, it's just sparking all the way down
it
to
was
that
insane
hill.
to watch.
It was hilarious. So hopefully you guys like that. That was just a little bit of comedic, value for us. Yeah. Nothing serious about it. And to be honest with you, I'm a pretty lighthearted guy. I come pretty serious and professional and intentional when we do the videos and stuff. But I like to joke around and have fun. And I believe that's an important part of my personality. We do that. We don't necessarily show it all the time in our videos, but that's an aspect. Like if you know me, I'm pretty lighthearted. But when it's time to get with it, there's a no nonsense side of me. So I can very much turn it on and turn it off based on what's going on. Yep. But life is too short not to have fun and take everything so serious. Our job we take serious, our responsibility, our family, all that stuff. But outside of that,
you gotta have some fun.
Let's have some fun. Let's joke around. Let's be a little more lighthearted. There's too many heavy things going on in the world nowadays to always be so, high strung.
Exactly.
And speaking on what's going on these days. You see what happened in Tennessee?
Yeah, it's too bad. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's like cars and coffee. We're starting to see that pop up more and more.
Yeah, and that's I guess the downside of what we were just talking about with social media and stuff is seems like all these events and the car culture in general is it's getting a negative connotation because everybody is trying to film this clip of something going terribly wrong.
Absolutely.
Whether it's running from the cops, somebody getting ran over at a takeover, somebody, crashing into a crowd of people, into a tree, leaving cars and coffee. It's like everybody's wanting just to get that clip just to make a viral video. Yep. And it's causing behavior with people that they shouldn't have the responsibility of the car that they have, but then they have this car and then they think they can go out and impress these people and do these things, and there's consequences with that. But what we're referring to is there's this massive event down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and it's called Slammed Enough, and super cool event. It's got a big following over the years, and that's a different side of the car culture, all the slam cars and stuff, but there's respect and appreciation. And,
Sure.
It's a really cool event to bring people kind of throughout the country to one location. But they had to close the event early, because there was a big takeover at a gas station and basically overran the cops.
Yep.
I heard, shooting, stabbing, and running from the cops and all sorts of reckless activities. So
Yep.
it's really too bad. I don't know where to go from here and how you can improve it, but it seems like it's not getting any better.
No. That was always my fear with Cars and Coffee, is like when you get things to grow and get to be too big, you lose the self-policing aspect of it. When you have smaller events where I know this guy and I know this guy and I know this guy, and he signed up and he signed up, and everybody knows, hey, they're part of the event. If that person all of a sudden acts out, gets into a fight, hits somebody, runs from the cops, does something, everybody knows who did it. So there's accountability right away. Whether you're accountable by the police are involved, whether you're accountable by you're never coming back, whether you're accountable by your peers or somebody else grabs you, whatever the case is, you're accountable. But in these cases where you're going to these things, first of all, when you're driving around with no license plate on the car, you're covering it up. I mean, first of all, I don't get it. You can call me a lame or old or whatever the case is, but I always wanted to be respected in the car community by what I brought to the event. And I did race. So when I raced, I want to be respected with how I performed in the race. Have I street raced? Yes. Back in the day, we used to do dumb stuff on the street once in a while, but we did it with the accountability of being scared, first of all, scared of being caught. Because if we get caught, we're probably getting impounded and the car's taken away. Scared of getting a ticket, scared of getting arrested, scared of crashing. But we did it in a way that was still safe. And if we felt like something was out of control or not safe, we shut it down immediately or leave or get out of the area. Nowadays, I mean, all the people that attend takeovers too aren't recording to just share you doing a donut or whatever.
Yep.
They're recording in hopes that you hit somebody. They're recording in hopes that you blow up the car. They're recording in hopes you hit another car. They're not recording you because you're the star.
Yeah.
And I, as much as I say it, guys, the people that think that that's hype, they're not. They don't have your best interest in mind, because I can promise you, watch all these videos. Dude gets hit. Dude gets hurt. Dude gets arrested. Are any of those people getting that person's back, that driver's back? Anybody fixing the car that blew up? Anybody going to court with the guy as he's sentenced? No. Those people do not support you. And I can promise you, if you're in a car community or a car culture community where you don't know that guy across from you and he needs help with his car and he's respectful just like everybody else, you'll be there to help them. Mm-hmm. You'll be there to help with money, time, tows, whatever the case is, information, introductions. And that's where car community and culture came from. It came from
it used to be.
Respect. And it's not because you have this car and he has this car. I respect everybody. We want the stance cars. Yep. We want the JDM cars. We want tuners. We want classics. We want the old school hot rod guys. We want the exotics. Everybody come out. We ask for you to be respectful of a few things, respectful of your neighbors, whoever's here sharing the time, and respectful of the venue. So wherever we go to do an event, like at Artiflex or at Ferris or at Ada, we want the respect of those people opening it up for us to park and use that. And then we want the respect as an organization that we plan all of this. We put hundreds of hours into these events every year for you guys to come out and enjoy. And you don't see us standing at these events saying, hey, this is all about me. You don't see us saying, hey, don't forget, I did all of this. This is because of me. You guys should all be grateful. No, we want to create a reoccurring event that people can come and enjoy, meet new people, because there's new people coming into the culture and community all the time also. And have a place that you can take your car, stand next to it, be proud, show other enthusiasts. They come up and talk to you about, their trials and tribulations with their build. You guys share things, you create bonds. You go get food. There's just a lot of really great things that come from those. And maybe it sounds corny to the young people, some of the young people, but it's not corny. I can promise you it's not corny. What's corny is crashing your car, doing dumb stuff, getting arrested, trying to get views because a week later, nobody knows who you are. Look in the main frame of media and news today. Somebody could do something insane this week. By next week, nobody will remember.
Yeah.
And that's my point. What are we doing for clicks on one day? It's insane. And it's quite honestly, I mean, I've talked to you about it. After some events where it's been challenging, I've said, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I know. That's the really uncomfortable part about it, is like the honesty behind it, is the amount of time, and I've seen it firsthand now, is like the amount of time on the back end that goes into putting on these events, the volunteers that we have, the organization, the business that's behind it, that's supporting it. And then to go, and at the end of the event, during the event, there's people flying by. There's moms pushing their kids across the street, trying not to get hit by an Audi going 80 down a 25.
Yep.
It's like, it's so frustrating. Like, why can't you just respect this 4-hour block of time?
Yep.
People are there to show your cars, talk about your cars, meet new people, have good conversations, go sit in other people's cars, see their mods, all that. That's what car culture is. And then to have the disrespect that some people show and get egged on by the other people that are on the side of the road, lining up, encouraging people to do burnouts, encouraging people to do dumb stuff. And then, the people that just feed into that, and the drivers that want to be that person, they want to be the people, the person that everybody films.
Yep.
They want to have the car that sounds the best and turns every head and makes the loudest bangs. And it's really frustrating because it's more than just you and I that get disrespected during that time. It's, the families that bring their kids out for the first time. It's the businesses that have a team of 20 of their employees that are burning a Saturday to, help put on this event.
Yep.
It's really frustrating. And I wish that there was, some sort of change with that. And I don't know how to fully control it, but there's times where it's like actually dangerous for us to help get cars out of an event, for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
For just people being basically stupid.
Yeah.
It sucks to say, but it's just the case, and it's frustrating.
And let me preface it with, it's probably 1% of everybody that comes to these events, because we'll have thousands of people show up, hundreds of cars.
Yep.
And even hundreds of cars outside the event where people are hanging out, having
That's
a good
what's
time.
been cool lately too. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, we're not going to overtalk the positivity that happens at the events. It's the very fine few negative that, try to bring down the larger group. And I think that's a topic of like self-policing. I'd like to see more people do that. I know there's danger involved in that, but self-policing can look a lot of different ways, which is, hey guys, can you take that someplace else? And I'll ask people to do that. Or can you please not do that and just respect where we are? And maybe they tell you, to get bent and other stuff. But I've been told that 100 times. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'll take it. I don't care. I've also been told that can you bleep this? But that I'm
right
for not doing a burnout, or for not taking off fast, or I'll pull up to the, I go to Woodward Cruise all the time, or we'll be at Metro, or I'll go to some of these other events and car sounds sick, looks nasty, and everybody's got burnout signs where they lean down in the window, and Christina's in there with me, do a burnout, man. And then they'd call me names because I do a burnout. Say, you ain't paying my ticket. And I said, nah, I can't do a burnout. I just say I can't do it. And if you're going to judge me based off of that, then judge me. But guess what? I'm down here in 35 seconds, and I don't know who you are. Yeah. And what would have that got me anyway? The best it would have got from me is somebody recording it for 3 seconds and them saying, hell yeah. Okay, cool. What did that do for me though in my life?
Nothing.
So that's the thing is, like, I really hope some of you guys, and listen, we've all done dumb stuff, 100%. So we're not removed from that. But checking yourself, learning when is the right time to do it, when's the wrong time to do it. You want to do that stuff with your friends. You're in a smaller group. You're out someplace at night.
Yep.
Listen, we've all done that. Yep. But in large public groups, where we have volunteers and people offering space for the car community to come together and allowing us to do this for free. Mind you, this is for free, guys. There's no charge. Slammed Enough, there's a charge to get in for every single person, which is a whole nother thing. But this is just free. We have food trucks involved, all the other stuff. There's just an element of respect that you should have for the people putting it on the venue, the same respect that you would command from somebody coming to your house. If we came to your house and we were acting a fool at your house and disrespecting your parents or your brother and your sister, you certainly wouldn't tolerate that, and you'd want us out of there. So, just kind of keep that in mind. Stuff I always believe comes full circle, and I hate to see this on a big scale like Slammed Enough, because what's going to happen is that those big entities like that will trickle down, and small entities will look at that and see it in the news and say, hey, do you guys do stuff like this? Is this something that happens? Or if they see a small element of that happening in your event, they may decide to cut ties simply because they don't want it to get to that. Even though it may never get to that, they see the possibility of that and the negative light that brings to that area or that situation. So I'm just saying we're in a really tough time, guys, that, I hope like self-policing and us guys that want to have these guys come in and be a part of the events can grab them and just shake them for a second and say, guy, that's cool, but come on inside and hang out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or park right there and hang out. Lots of people want to see your stuff. They want to hear it, but come and chill for a bit.
Exactly.
You don't have to do anything dangerous out there. And hopefully we can kind of turn that tide and get back to, just hanging out and having a good time. Still, we want to hear the cars. When the cars take off, people take off from the event,
of course,
reasonably, but be safe and don't come back 10 times because that's dangerous. Me and you are out in the road. Families, people are in the road. There's a lot of stuff that could go wrong. So
yeah,
hopefully we can get that cleaned up.
No, let's turn the tables. How do you think this year went with Cars and Coffee and the events?
I think it went great. Yeah, I loved doing the thing at Ferris this year. The weather was the worst ever.
But honestly, it kind of
turnout.
Yeah, it was a huge turnout, and nobody was really complaining about it. Like they were all kind of antsy to get out, and the photos were actually kind of sick with the water beating up on the cars and stuff. It wasn't dumping, which was good.
Right. For the coffee shop, it was perfect because it was cool. It was
loaded.
You can come in and get coffee.
So many people.
But I know they're excited to do another one. They have a great venue, great event, downtown. Obviously the ones in Ada have gotten even better. We have the most support in Ada because it's such a big group. And I think it's been great for the businesses and restaurants and the awareness of what Ada has. So I'm really happy with that. And then the thing at Artiflex was amazing. Their owner came out. He asked if we would go to Detroit and do something because they have a ton of locations. They did a shop tour, which was crazy.
That was super
with those
cool.
presses inside of there. But those guys do major work. They do work with AEV, Chevrolet, Dodge, all the Demon hoods, that they've done, and scat packs and stuff like that. It's amazing to see that stuff done right here in West Michigan.
It's awesome.
And then to tie the knots with the community where people could come in and do those tours and see that stuff, I think was neat, something that nobody's ever really done before. So overall, I was really happy. We had a couple instances where things were unsafe and there were some people that got banned this year that are added to the list. But that's also why we do the registration, and we're pretty strict with that, so that if somebody comes out and is being unsafe or trying to start fights or things like that, we just can't let you back in, know. And I've never wanted to do that, but it's one of those things, like some people just won't listen, no matter how you ask them. And it's usually people we've asked 3, 4, 5 times, and it's like, we'll do it anyway. So other than that, great year. Looking forward to next year, and it's kind of like the cycle every year. As soon as Cars and Coffee's done, it's like 1 month, and then we're SEMA.
Yep.
And then it's SEMA for like a month and a half, and then it's like a month of rehab by the time we get back, and then it's Christmas and Thanksgiving, New Year's, and the next thing you know, we're like, all right, so spring's coming.
Yep.
No,
and auto show.
Yeah. Oh, auto show.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, that's the tough part too, because we get asked to do more events, have more label events. We do one label event a year, which is called Rides on River Street, and that's always a blast to do. Really good turnout, good group of guys. But we get asked to do. We used to do track days, a few of those a year.
Yeah,
cruises, rallies, stuff like that. And I guess what's your mindset for the future of trying to do stuff like that?
I've told guys that have asked me, I'm like, if you guys can assemble some volunteers,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people, setting up a rally or a cruise like on a weekend, that's what a lot of guys will do here, like, hey, let's get together on Sunday and drive all the way up and come back down by the end of the day, which I get it. There's time for that. But I'm like, the way I've always envisioned it is the way that we did it for a couple of years, which was we met on an early Saturday morning. We had planned spots, which I had planned ahead of time, built routes for everybody. We had lanyards. It was pretty inclusive. We had photography and media with us. So we'd plan these stops, get pictures of the cars, get pictures of us, and almost create like a memory book through the trip. And we would take probably 6 or 7 stops and then end in Traverse City. And we would do it in the fall. Everybody check into their hotel, and then I would already have arrangements made, which that's difficult to do for large groups, especially in Traverse City, to get reservations for us to all go have dinner and just sit down and get to know each other better and talk about the day. And then maybe have some drinks, hang out, go back to the hotel that night, and then get up in the morning, have some brunch, and then take a quick ride up the peninsula to a couple of the wineries and check those out, because we're fortunate enough here in Michigan to have some really neat wineries up in Traverse City, and the views of the lake.
Oh, it's unreal up there.
It's crazy. You can't believe it's Michigan. And then maybe make 3 or 4 stops there and finish up early afternoon, and then everybody go their separate way and head home. But what's frustrating is it's kind of like whenever we planned events here or cigar nights and things like that. I've went through this wave where when I first started doing events and stuff here, I could communicate with everybody all the time. And there weren't many to communicate with. So it was very personalized. I could message you on the phone. I could email you, put together a nice thing. But as we've grown, this number has substantially tripled, doubled, quadrupled. Now it's massive. Yeah. And there's been a mix, I think, of some people feeling like there's not enough personal communication because I'm not following up 4 times a year. It may be one time where I put out a nice personalized private invite email and an email to everybody in our group that we have, and say, hey, this is what we're planning. If you're interested, please RSVP, have a couple questions for them. And then when that list gets back to me, then that goes down to the more personal conversation list of like, here's what we have going on. Here's the plans, blah, blah, blah. And I think that some other people fell off because they felt like the communication wasn't as good, or it's gotten to the point where maybe I don't care. And it's just not the case. It just comes down to a manpower thing. So, organizing these events, if we've got guys that want to volunteer or guys that want to get together, we've talked about having like a informal Thursday night gathering, maybe at Alex's or at, the shop or something, have dinner, which Alex and Steph and a couple of us have done that a couple of times. If that group grows to, 6, 8 people where people can take on responsibility, whether that's communication, setting the reservations, helping with the location, finding out the cool spots to stop this year, that takes a huge burden off my shoulders to help facilitate all that. And then I can handle the creative stuff, the checklist
Branding.
of people. Yeah. The branding, if we have connections up in that area, which I do. If we want to do a special event, which we did that once at Haggerty's private garage, maybe I could coordinate something like that. But to do it on the level that I think is fitting, that people expect, is a little different now. So I feel that pressure. And, some of the guys are like, oh, just do it.
I know.
And I'm with you.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm wired that way. I want to have that experience that we had in the past because it was memorable. And everybody was like, this is unlike anything else anybody's done. So getting that feedback makes me feel like, all right, if we're going to do this again, we need to do it like this. It's kind of like the way we've done events.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's the tough part with it is like now we've built up a brand and a style that we do, different events like, and then, trying to mend that into different things, whether that's track days, whether that's doing a rally, and then, not doing something off the cuff, just like, hey, you want to go out for this weekend? We're just going to cruise here. Yeah. Not have it all laid out is really off brand. And I see that firsthand of like, you don't like to, you're just not going to do it. If it's not set up the way that you want it, it's just not going to happen, which I think is fine. But then, there's the other side of it is like, well, I think there's times where we're missing out on, some of that stuff and trying to continue to build that community and, make those relationships stronger. And as well as like the cool thing about doing some of that is like bringing all the guys together and then they're becoming friends, just because of what we've built here and the community around it, which is always cool to see. It's like they're hanging out outside here. They're doing drives outside of here.
Right.
But I think, trying to build something past what we do just here, like outside doing rallies and, different events, it's a focused group of people, but, we have means outside of just doing the shop stuff, I think would be really cool to try to set up in the future. But it's, it's really challenging. And that kind of goes into the track day stuff is that was really fun to do, but nobody understands like what that actually takes to even just put on. Like it's like what you just said is like, you can do it one way, but it's not the way that we want to do it. And, that's the struggle with it.
And, I've always said, like, I don't want to do something that I feel like is not 100% or complete, because then I don't have the passion for it. And, let's be frank, I'm involved with a lot of stuff at this point that whenever I'm choosing to do something like that, I'm sacrificing my personal time, the little bit of personal time that I have left. And this past year, I've tried to be more intentional with trying to set time aside where, Christina and I can go do some things. Yeah. And if that means I'm not going to do a cruise and plan a cruise, then that's what I'm going to do. Or if that means I'm not going to do an event at the shop because I don't want to set everything up or handle catering or get a bartender or buy the alcohol or buy the cigars and lay it out nice. Sure, I could do something where guys just show up, but the participation doesn't back that up. So that's the other side of it that I was getting to earlier, was that even though the peer group is bigger, the participation or the lack of communication isn't there. So that does not drive me to push hard, because really I'm just sacrificing my own time. And if people can't take the time to communicate or, get back with me in a shortened amount of time where I say, is there any interest in doing this? And nobody even bothers to respond. Just a simple courteous, like, hey, keep me in mind for the next one. I can't make this one. Or absolutely, I'm in. Let me know if you need help. Mm-hmm. You can't gauge how to do an event.
It's
track days.
Yeah,
you can't get track days, guys. You pay cash for the track and you have to commit in advance. So I can't go out and say, hey, do you guys want to participate in the track for $300? Yeah. When it gets to around there, let me know.
Right.
Sorry. And if nobody shows or we get, $2,500, that means I paid $2,500 for these people to come to the track and me to host it. So it's not like I'm going to make money on any of this stuff. And you have to be really careful with that. I think a lot of that stuff is done. I see people organize events and do things for the wrong reasons, which I believe is clout. Nowadays, everybody's chasing that, just like the takeovers, all that other stuff. People want to organize events, do events so they can say, oh, I do this event. And that's just not the case with me. I don't want to host a drive and say, stand on marketing for the M22 cruise and be like, I did this. No, it's more the experience. Yeah. Because all of that work that it's going to take to get that experience to be that way, I'm still not going to have the same experience as you because I did all the work in the preparation. Mm-hmm. Now, if people did that work for me and then I could show up and participate, I would be very chipper.
Well, that was the other question I had is,
you're in.
Did you ever consider
you're up
doing a rally of some sort? There's so many different events, driving events.
What kind of rally?
Not the ones that I like, but the driving rallies, like Gold Rush. I mean, Gold Rush is crazy, but
I don't have that money, and I don't have
what I'm talking about,
to do that.
There's a couple, rallies that you can hop in, Chicago to so and so. Some of that stuff doesn't interest you.
It doesn't. I've seen it a lot, and obviously being down in Miami and stuff, I've seen the guys come through. In Detroit, I've watched them come through. I've seen a lot of the cruises. We have some friends that do them in our hardcore. I don't know. Again, I think I'm fearful. I'm more concerned if something happens to the car.
Yeah.
I get arrested. I do something stupid. Something breaks, and then now what? So I did all this for fun.
There's too much risk involved.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I think I don't have the wherewithal to just be open pocket, but I think that's it. You get me in a situation where it's like, all right, worst thing that can happen is $1,000. Oh, okay. I can handle $1,000, but in these situations where we're driving the premier car that we have, and I've got hundreds of, hours and money and stuff invested into it, and something happens to it, it may not be a big deal to some people, but it is to me. I just don't have that disconnect yet. And I'm quite honestly, I'm glad that I don't have that, because I think you lose touch. And I do believe I learned that lesson when I was younger, because I was more, I got to have everything, and everything's got to be brand new, so I made mistakes financially there, spent money where I shouldn't. It was extending myself for no reason. I had credit card debt because I was in situations where I think I was chasing my ego, and that's what I think a lot of that is. I'm sure there is fun there, but let's be honest, a lot of that stuff's really publicized, and a lot of the stuff that happens on those, they like to go and talk about.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we talked about earlier.
Yeah. I don't really want to be lifted by that. That's why, for me, what the wild thing is what you saw us do with Frankie. I mean, if that's the wildest as it gets, for me, then it is what it is. I'm lame. But I enjoy driving the car. I enjoy getting on it. I enjoy having fun, cruising, taking it out to dinner. Like, I drive them around town all the time. Me and Christina go on cruises. But I don't know, maybe that part's just missing from me.
Yeah.
And that responsibility is just, too heavy on me to worry about.
Yeah. And I know it's like what you talked about too, with like trying to allocate a certain free time, to personal life, and, trying to focus on that, because it has been such a grind, for both of us for so many years now. Is like, we both tried to take a couple steps back in that regard, and, get some other hobbies or activities outside of here to do as well.
Yeah.
And I know that's had an impact this year on events and different things that we've kind of missed out on. Is there anything, coming up? We're closing on the end of the year here, but for next year, like any certain events that kind of caught your eye that you were maybe wanting to go to?
Yeah. The thing is with the wide bodies, the Corvette events are something that I feel like we've really missed the boat on. And, I'll get a lot of DMs or messages of like, hey, are you guys going here? And it does feel like we are shorting our own work by not participating in that, which that's something that takes responsibility, I think, from you too, because I just can't do it alone, I don't think, anymore, especially if we're talking about multiple cars. That's something that I've talked about investing in, is like a double car hauler, which takes it to another level, which then takes it to a different truck. And, to me, we have I would say, like, pieces to go out and show people our capabilities.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's kind of why we're slept on a little bit, other than people that are in the know. It's that we're just not exposed or overexposed like a lot of shops are. This is about as exposed as we get by going to SEMA every year. And even at that time, we don't have like huge names promoting us. We don't pay for any sponsorships. We don't do anything with like huge names. We don't have any brand partners, anything like that. As far as like people that would go out and publicize specifically for us, we don't hire media agencies or stuff like that other companies do. So maybe that is something that I think we're missing as far as a business. And that's something that we should probably look at as far as, longevity wise. What do we want to be known as?
Right.
Do we really want to show our best work, or do we want to show the stuff that we do every day? And I think the investment into showing our best work is probably most advantageous for us, and where our best bang for your buck is. So it's almost like, if we're going to do a rally, we want to do it the right way.
Yep.
If we want to go out and do an events, we should probably, do it that same way and take our best of the best out there. And, knowing how the car did down in Tennessee, Justin's car.
Yep.
It was the best overall at that all Corvette year show, and promoted in the middle. The way that it did at Cobo Hall, at Autorama, the way it did at Corvettes of Carlisle, our first version of the car, knowing that, we have 2 one-of-one cars that you can't go out and see any place, and you're going to events where there's 1,000 Corvettes.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a place that you should be, I'm pretty sure that's screaming at you.
Well, yeah, that was this question I was going to ask is, do you think, well, there's a reputation around Corvettes and, the owners and the culture.
Careful, we got Corvette guys watching us. So remember, Justin said it, not me.
I'm thinking of more like the C5 guy with the Corvettes.
Those are the drift guys now. So you might be picking on your own category. Careful.
That is true.
Yeah, you're in a weird zone.
There's a. I'm not going to get too far into it, but he's
there is a stereotype.
Head to toe Corvette gear.
Yes,
that's as far as I'll go.
Right.
But with those events, do you feel like some of that is devaluing our brand and what we provide because of the level that we do, because, we are catered more to the exotic side. But like, I guess the question is like going to Corvette's Carlisle or doing an exotic car show with, hundreds of cars in Nashville.
Yep.
Would there be more value in that event, or do you think there'd be more value in the Carlisle?
So I think my philosophy is going to be different than everybody else. I think it's hard to argue that the Corvette now is in that supercar performance category. If you look at numbers for the ZL6 and the ZR1 and obviously ZR1X and stuff like that, the car is in a pretty elite category. But what's the bag that everybody says if you have a Corvette is that, well, it's an American car, it's a Corvette at the end of the day. Okay. And I can live with that because for the most part, you're not going to pay supercar numbers for a Corvette. You'll get great performance out of it, but you might have to pay the long dollar. Now, if we have a company that specializes in creating supercar and hypercar derived components and products for a Corvette, which already has supercar performance, and the styling matches and the construction and the aerodynamics and the functionality match what belong on a supercar, and it's applied in the right form to these cars, how is there not a market for that? I don't believe following the trends that everybody else has done is the right method. If we were repopping hoods, repopping factory aero kits, doing the things that you see what manufacturers have been doing in the American car world for 25 plus years in the modern era, I would say you're probably right. We're in the wrong space. But what we're doing is applying supercar and hypercar dynamics to an American car, which in my mind is appealing to the customer that's looking at, say, a ZR1. And they're going to buy a ZR1. I saw one today for 50 over sticker. So
that's not
sticker
bad,
was
actually.
$211.
Okay.
So they're going to go pay $262 for 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
And the car is going to
decimate everything.
Exactly. Now, what I don't like about that car is it doesn't have the ZTK package on it, which is the most aggressive you can get.
Which you should get on any of those.
And even in my opinion, the ZTK is fine, but it still looks very much like a Z06, right? So if I could get a ZR1 functionality with everything that's going on there and apply our program to it or an upgraded version of our program that will now take it into another element of what the ZR1 or ZR1X brings, why would I not do that and opt for something that's going to be in the McLaren price range for something that I'm going to be able to outservice a McLaren, I'm going to be able to outperform a McLaren, and I'm going to be more unique than the McLaren. And if you look at McLaren numbers this year and what people are predicting for 2026, the number is continuing to go down as far as losing value.
It's too bad.
You're seeing 765 LTs for 400 now, with 2,000 miles on them, and you're talking a car that somebody paid $800,000. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that goes with the reputation that follows with some of these brands. It's either serviceability, cost to maintain, all of that stuff. Issues. And then now Ferrari going to their supercar status program where you're going to have to buy $60 million worth of cars to get opportunities to buy. And that was just released last week. I read that article and I'm like, holy cow. So, I think everybody's looking for their niche of saying, how do we find this to be unique in our space and whittle this down to everybody wants what we have. We can't make enough. And it's putting people out of that market. And you see the people that are buying our wide bodies, they're exotic car owners, they're multi-car owners, they own one of everything. And they're saying, I can justify this car, I like it, I'm going to get it anyway. But now I can do something that puts it into almost a different stratosphere. And it's original, tailored to me specifically. And you're right, guys, it's not for everybody. You're spending 150 grand on a Corvette, you're spending 200 grand on a Corvette. But go look at what a Huracan costs you. Go look at what a Technica would cost you, something like that. And you're going to modify that. And the reason why I say that is the guys that modify these cars are modifying their supercars as well. And then they're stuck with no warranty, same issues with service, having to trailer them every place. So the cost of ownership is just way different. So I think that answer of that is I want to create an exotic space for the Corvette client that is the 3 or 2% that are buying the Corvette. So the guys that are traditionally putting all the bolt-ons on, sidebar here, the guys that are putting all the bolt-ons on, you're spending lots of money to do that. Okay. All the stick-on stuff. Now, the guy next to you at the show is doing the same thing. I'm telling you, you're getting close to wide body money for that. So before you start buying all that, reach out to us if you have any interest in the wide body, because I see what some of these guys are spending on all of this stuff.
That's crazy.
And I mean, it's getting in the 60, 70, 80 grand mark, for stuff that literally is sold by the thousands, we're not even talking about any original parts. So just something to keep in mind, because you're going to see more and more of these cars show up at shows, and that originality is dwindling the opposite way, which is growing. And you're not going to be original. You're falling into the sea of cars. So that's, again, where I think we shine. So I think having a presence in those events and saying, hey, this is certainly not for everybody, but it's something for a feature to come and see and be like, wow, that's interesting. And then still having that presence at exotic events, because what happens at the exotic events is then you get discredited for having a Corvette. So it's very vice versa. Okay. You get to the it's a Corvette. Yeah. So no matter what you stick on it, it's still a Corvette. So you have to earn your stripes there too. So I think you're in a tough category. That's also why people don't go down that path that easily. But I think for those that understand it, it does make sense when you talk through it and you look at the dollars and cents. You look at your personalization factor, because you can't personalize a car more than we can when we build these cars. You literally can address every single panel, which this year at the SEMA car, you'll see that every single thing has been addressed specifically for the client. And you can't just order that car. It's very special.
And that's what I think too with the C8. It's like, it's, my comment earlier about the Corvette, the typical Corvette guy is like, that phase almost seems over. Is like, there's more of an appreciation. And I think, right away, people had their comments about the Corvette, but as soon as the Z came and as soon as the ZR1 came out, it's like, you never hear anybody talking smack about them anymore. It's like, because they're so good. Yeah. They're so good. Yeah. And it's, bringing a different client into those shows. And that's what I think would be interesting, is going there and, providing that Gucci of a body kit, to that special client and saying, you already have this car and I see all the other cars you have. We can, tailor this exactly the way you want it. And, that's the cool part about it, is like, at pretty much, like you were saying, 98% of the cars that you see, you can go online that night, order all those parts that you saw on that build and have it for yourself.
And that's what people do. Yeah.
And I guess, that's part of it. That's never going to go away.
Absolutely.
But you can have something that's one of one.
Right. And hopefully, you guys, if we have some Corvette guys watching, tell us where you'd like to see us. I think that would be something, if you guys are located in a particular area of the country, I know there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Bowling Green. They have Corvette events, obviously, where the assembly plant is. And then also in Pennsylvania, and I believe they do one in...
the one Justin went to.
Yeah, Tennessee. Yep. There's a couple of them that are pretty big. I wish we had a bigger one in Michigan, but we have a lot of other things that go on for so many cars that I think there are Corvette events. It's just there's 100 Corvette events, so you can't pick which one to go to.
But maybe we should do a loop or something next year. Is like start in Pennsylvania, go down to Tennessee, hang out at Miltech for a while, hit the tail of the dragon, try to find a couple events down that way.
So Nashville. You're going to have a 1-year-old.
I'm going to have a 1-year-old, but there's nothing like a little road trip with a 1-year-old.
Now you're talking. And you got an overland van.
It ain't no big deal.
Pack that boy up, put a trailer in there.
I already got the plan.
Great. So you heard it. Maybe 2026, we'll talk about some tour stops, and maybe we can meet some people too and have them come out and see the car for the first time. I know a lot of people would like to see the cars. When we do take them out, it's really neat to meet some of the people that have watched us or followed the cars and wanted to see them in person. And it is one of those things. It's like, I always believe our cars look better in person than they do in photos. And we kind of hear that no matter where we go. So it's definitely one of those things, like, if we do come, we hope you guys come out and check it out.
For sure.
But I guess now would be a good time to wrap it up, since you probably have to wrap some more
we got to get back
panels
to business
today. And
it was a good little break. But
have to sit in front of a computer. And maybe we'll have some Q&A soon.
Yeah, let's do it.
Q&A?
Yeah.
All right, guys, as usual, please like and subscribe. Shout out to Boxed Water for sponsoring the pod again. And obviously, Miltech, our sponsor this year. SEMA 24327 is the booth. Justin will be there. I'll be there. He's supposed to make some new shirts for us this year.
Yep.
That's on his to-do list. So that's also why we have to get done early, because Justin makes all of our custom shirts right here at Label every year. And his wife does come over, Stephanie. So shout out to Stephanie for helping us out every year. And Christina will get us some shirts at the very last minute, because that's the way she likes to do things.
Yep.
And we'll all look good, hopefully, at SEMA this year. And looking forward to seeing everybody in just 20 days, 21, or no. Yeah. The 4th it opens. We got to have the car ready in 21 days. So November 4th, guys, we'll see you there. And as usual, thanks for watching.
See ya.